Fantasy managers, hello, and thank you for all your recent support on all of our social pages, which are at Esports Live Now and at FPL_addicts, as well as a huge thank you to our 800 plus and growing Euro fantasy community. But welcome back to another edition of the FPL Addicts, powered by Esports Live Euro 2020 Fantasy Podcast, where today we will be reviewing the quarterfinals and previewing the semi-finals as it gets towards the business end of the Euros. We'll do this through discussion regarding our teams for the semi-finals, the Guru's picks for the ones to watch and captains for the round, and some general discussion around the essential assets to have for the upcoming two fixtures. With me as always to dissect the quarterfinals and preview the semi-finals is Jack from Esports Live and the Guru from FPL Addicts. We'll start with you, Jack. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, Elliot, how do you think I'm doing? I'm still celebrating from this morning over here in Australia. It was an early start, 5 a.m. kickoff. So we're in the pub with the Guru, supporting the boys, and yeah, what a morning. Honestly, I think a few people said there was going to be plenty of goals happening in this game, but I didn't forecast that 4-0 going on in there. So yeah, absolutely buzzing with that. And let's say it is coming home.
Well, I think, is that one of the first times that I think you said that on the podcast, mate? So
that could be the first.
Hopefully it's not a jinx, but Matt, we'll move on to you now. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Elliot. Similar to Jack, early morning for us, but, it was certainly worth it. Great result, great performance. A golden boot bet's back on as well. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my old man actually asked me before the tournament who he should put money on, and I told him Ronaldo, Kane and Lukaku. So I said to him this morning, Kane's back on for it, and Ronaldo's still top scorer. So yeah, he's definitely in with a shout. But Matt Gazdon's just said there in the chat, how are Jack and Matty still awake after a cracking night at the pub? Was it an all-nighter from you boys, Jack?
We put a good few hours in. It wasn't tough to get going at that time, but when the goals started flowing, some of the beers started flowing as well. So we enjoyed ourselves, but wanted to save ourselves for the next game. We had to call it an early night and an early morning, and then go back home, rest up, ready for the big game in the midweek.
Yeah, absolutely. Thursday morning at 5 a.m. here in Melbourne time, so it should be an absolute cracker. But we could sit here and talk about England for hours and hours, but we'll try and keep it as short as possible. Just how good was it to see your man Harry Kane back among the goals, Matt?
Oh, it was brilliant. So happy. He got a lot of abuse in the group stages, which I don't think was warranted. So for him to come out and back it up with 3 goals in 2 games, and I think if Gareth had kept him on for that last 20 minutes or so, I think there was another goal in him. So yeah, it's exciting to think what he can do in the semi-final.
Yeah, absolutely. It should, be an absolute thriller, and the team just ticks when he's at his best, and it really, really showed that this morning. But Luke Shaw, Jack, what a performance he had! He's turned into Roberto Carlos for the tournament so far. A lot of people are going to now be looking at him for their FPL season now, I think. So, what a performance from him this morning.
Yeah, listen, if you didn't have him in your FPL team already for last season, what are you doing? The guy's come into the Euros absolutely on fire. What an asset he is to have in your team. And I think even the Guru was tempted to put a captain's armband on him this morning. We were talking about him, what a shout that would have been. He looked good in the last game, obviously against Germany. Second half, when they started to tire, he was bombing up and down that left side, whipping balls in. Obviously, he was involved in the assist and the pre-assist for the German game. And then obviously this morning, he was on fire again. He had a lot more. Obviously, they weren't as organised, the Ukraine team, and he took full advantage of that and looked great again.
Yeah, absolutely. He was absolutely brilliant. But we'll sort of stop it there for the England chat. I'm sure we'll be dropping in little digs and little mentions of it throughout the podcast. But we will move on to something that's probably made your FPL week, your Euro Fantasy week, a little bit more relaxed for you now, Matt. Was Italy-Belgium, and what a result Italy had managed to pull off there.
Oh, brilliant! Look, I was very worried in the last pod. I thought it was going to be Belgium's. Looking at Italy have obviously impressed in this tournament. Looking at Belgium's side, and likes of Lukaku, both of the Hazard brothers, Kevin De Bruyne. I just thought, Belgium are due, get into a final, I think. And Italy did it. They played some great football. A couple of really good goals, and my Italians have managed to keep me in the fantasy league, which is nice. I was a little bit. One thing I didn't like there was that penalty. I wasn't too sure if that was a penalty for Belgium, and I think that's taken a few clean sheet points away. But look, at the end of the day, my Italians remain, with the exception of the fullback, the Roma
Spinazzola.
fullback that got injured, Spinazzola. Yeah, so he goes, but everyone else loses out on that one too. So yeah, I'm relieved that they made it through from the Euro fantasy perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It was properly heartbreaking for Spinazzola. Probably a lot of shouts for player of the tournament so far. He's been absolutely brilliant, and I think he's torn his Achilles or something I read. So, yeah, it's a real shame from a Euro fantasy perspective, and obviously for him and all Italians out there as well. But it might help England end up winning the tournament. So it's going to be something that gives England the advantage maybe if we do end up making the final. But in our way before then is Denmark, Jack, and they managed to beat the Czech Republic 2-1 with another goal from Patrick Schick for Czech Republic. Wasn't enough for Denmark's 2. And Myler, he's on absolute flames, isn't he, for Euro fantasy and in real life as well. He's getting everybody the points, isn't he?
Yeah, I think we mentioned him numerous times on the pod and the previous pods. I think the majority of the fantasy community have got him in their team. He's looked great in this tournament, and he's an asset that everyone's got to have or and retain in their teams. You won't be transferring him out anytime soon. Up and down the fullback position, looks more like a right forward, doesn't he? The way he gets up and down and with the assists. So yeah, it looks great in there. And he's up there with fullbacks of the players of the tournament, along with Spinazzola and even Luke Shaw, as mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of good left backs at the tournament so far. So yeah, they're absolutely on fire, and we'll just have to see if Luke Shaw can keep that up. Fingers crossed for England. But we'll move on to the paid mini league leaderboard now, Jack, and it's going to be something that you're going to be very, very excited to see. As you can see there, you're just a couple of points off the pace behind Marko Skokic. So how are you sort of feeling going into the semi-finals now?
Oh, listen, that's the first time I've looked at the ladder for an hour. So it's been all the boys are obviously hyping about it, and it's nice to be up there and in with a shout and in with a mix. Obviously, there's some great competition in this paid league, and there's some serious players who are putting a lot of effort in and research, taking some good takeaways from us, hopefully, and that's why myself and and even the Guru in 5th. Obviously, he's still within kind of touching distance, even after that. He didn't have his wild card available to him, but he still managed to stay in there with the Italians saving him. But yeah, nice to be up there in with a shout. And but yeah, Skoko and Marco, he's doing great in there. Who was our, I think, manager of the round for match day 3. He's still up there and in with the mix. So hopefully I can stay with him and ride with the pack.
Yeah, well, it's looking like it's going to be, if you can keep it up, mate, you're definitely in with a shout of definitely going to be, well, I won't say definitely, I don't want to jinx you, but it looks like
definitely. That's definitely like England winning the tournament, mate.
Looks like you've got a very good chance of finishing off with some money at the end of the tournament, because the top 3 do get that money prize. But yeah, you can definitely push on for first place there. And as you can see, James Gasden is sitting in 3rd, 7 points behind you, Jack. Are you a little bit nervous? Obviously, you were with him this morning. Was he talking a little bit about it, saying he was going to catch either of you?
Yeah, he was talking it up, and he kept looking at me every time Kane scored, because he had Kane as captain. So he kept looking over and leaning over with a little wink on there, because he knew what was happening. But yeah, I just managed to save it there and level with the 64 points, which obviously is a great score, great points haul. But James has managed to stay with me there. But hopefully I can shake him off, and maybe the Guru can catch him up and take him over instead of him giving me the pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Matt Cowling sits there in 4th. He was obviously, up in the top last round, so he's dropped off a couple of places, you can see, with his red arrow. And then the Guru and Martin Watchhorn sit in 5th. Guru, you be happy with that, as you said. Obviously, you didn't have your wild card. You were banking on the Italians going through. So sitting in 5th in the league now is not a bad result at all, is it?
No, look, I'm happy. I think before this morning's games, I was sort of around that 10th position, and I was kind of looking well off the pace and just couldn't sort of find any points or where I was going to get anything. I only had 10 men as well. I'd taken a -4, and that Harry Maguire was someone I pinpointed before this round, and he did the business for me. He got 12 points. He banged that header in, and yeah, I just had a feeling about him. So he's pretty much kept me in it, along with the King, Harry Kane, as a captain. So yeah, happy with that, and gives me a bit of hope going into the semi-finals that I might be able to push into that top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a lot of managers that I saw on Twitter that had the double up of Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire, and they would have been absolutely thrilled with themselves after they've managed to do that. What brilliant shouts they were! And obviously, we mentioned before about if anyone had captained Luke Shaw, then you'd probably be asking them for the lottery numbers, because that's an absolutely brilliant shout. But we'll move on to the free league now ever so quickly and just roll off the top five, because as much as we focus on the paid league, the free league is definitely heating up as well. Mohamed Omar moves into first place with Akif Sad dropping down to second. We've got 99 Bandar 36 in third, with severe issues in fourth, Yellowbird in fifth, It's a Winner in sixth, and then the only boys that I know from the paid league is Marco Skokic there, who is actually top, who sits in 10th, and then FPL Spike sits there in 9th, who's a little bit of a cult hero on the podcast as well. But yeah, that's sort of how the mini leagues are shaken up now. But the manager of the match day goes to Jodie Hayward, who obviously wins the quarterfinal manager of the match day award with her 70-point haul. She obviously receives the 30 Aussie dollar prize money for achieving the highest points haul for this round. So a massive congratulations to her. And remember to keep your eyes on both of the tables as we enter the final 2 match days. But yeah, we'll move on to our teams now, and Jack can sort of tell us about how well that he went this week, and the Guru as well, to give you some credit, mate. You haven't had a bad week given your circumstances at all. But we'll start with you, Jack, as we can see there on the screen, 64 points. So just take us through your team, mate.
Yeah, I went obviously a bit heavier on Belgium rather than the Italians. Obviously, just the balance of the squad kind of works out that way. But yeah, so obviously all the Belgians didn't really hit. The Spanish didn't really do too much for me either, to be fair. But they all scored obviously 1 and 2 points. Kind of picked the wrong ones in there. But the English kind of saved me, as well as Lukaku with the penalty, with the captain's armband on. Schick as well with the goal, and obviously Mahler for Denmark. But yeah, Luke Shaw's standout one there. Pickford with another clean sheet. Sterling, with his assists. Boy, did he play well as well this morning. By the way, I've got to give him a shout out on there. I know I've just been hyping Harry Kane and Luke Shaw, but Sterling, I think he looked more unplayable than any other game that he's performed this week. So, if you didn't have him in your teams, you've got to get him in, because he's a man on absolute fire and growing even more confidence. And that is something I do not say very often about that player. I'm definitely one who was on the other side of him, but he's doing great. But Lukaku with the captain's armband, stuck with him rather than twisting to Kane. I thought it was a bit too much of a gamble. So I missed out on maybe 8 points there. So hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt for going into the final. Semi-final and final round. But yeah, Schick firing. Obviously, say goodbye to him now, but he's been great, and he was kind of odds on to score. I think Damsgaard could have bagged a goal as well this morning, but not to be for him. But yeah, look quite good in there. But Spinazzola is going to have to go, and obviously a few moves to make going into this next round.
Yeah, obviously you do get your 5 transfers heading into next round, so you should be all right there. But there's a lot of happy fantasy managers on Twitter that I definitely saw as well when Harry Kane scored, inside 4 minutes with a Raheem Sterling assist. I think a lot of people had that duo. So yeah, it's not so much a differential pick, but I think the Luke Shaw pick there, Jack, is definitely the one that sort of shot you up the mini league, hasn't it?
Yeah, Shaw's probably the standout for me in there, and especially after his performances recently, I think he was a dead certain. I did like the Maguire one. I was looking at Maguire, but I thought what I said on the last pod was having that good spread of players across the quarterfinal team. So I didn't go too heavy on England just in case. Although I still believe. But yeah, I didn't go all the way on that. But Luke Shaw was definitely a pick and a good defensive pickup for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we had known how bad Ukraine were going to be at marking set piece, I think a lot more people would have got Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw into their teams. But you spoke about it before, Matt, with you having Harry Maguire in your team, and we can see there, given your circumstances, no wild card, you've actually pulled out a really, really good score, mate.
Yeah, look, I'm happy with the recovery. I can thank England and Harry Maguire and Harry Kane, the 2 Harrys, and Maguire was someone I looked at quite closely. The Germany game, he was getting in on the end of a few set pieces. He was knocking a few headers in, and he just looked dangerous. And
looked so good, didn't he, against Germany as well?
Yeah, brilliant and good on the ball. He was hitting a lot of really good balls to feet, and I just thought, I've got to get him in. And it was a tough call between him and Shaw. They've obviously both got the same points, but in hindsight, it would have been nice to have both of them. But I still managed to have Pickford in there with a clean sheet, which was good. Sterling's done well, Marla, and then Harry Kane as captain. So yeah, if that Italian defence had hit and got clean sheets, and it would have been brilliant. But I've got something to to chase now, and I'm still in it. That's all that matters. So I'm still in it. I can't complain too much with the circumstances. So yeah, happy with the two Harrys.
Yeah, it looked like it was, possibly going to be curtains for you on the last podcast, but you've definitely, made a major recovery there. You've got Harry Kane as your captain there. Who did you captain for the first match day? Was it Immobile?
I actually had Sarabia from Spain in the end, who they subbed him at half time, and I might have been saying to Jack before, it might have even been on the last pod. I was thinking about captaining Bonucci. I had a feeling. I think Jack was saying, his friend had a feeling it was going to be 1-0 Bonucci, and I woke up and saw the start of the Italian game, and I couldn't believe it when he scored, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is just brilliant!" But then got disallowed, and at that time I was thinking, "God, I wish I'd captained him." But now I went with Sarabia, and he got subbed at half time, which was a strange one. So yeah, that was disappointing. But yeah, it was always going to go back on Harry Kane the next day.
Has that happened in back-to-back games for Sarabia? I don't know if he's been subbed twice in the last 2 games.
Yeah, no, I think he has
quite early on.
Yeah, he got 72 minutes against Croatia and 45 against Switzerland.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be. So he didn't start the first couple of games of the Euro. So I think he's someone that, if he's in your squad, you want to have a sub option to rotate out, because you're probably not going to get 90 minutes out of him against Italy. You never know; he might not even get the start because
he's a cheap option in there, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's cheap, and if you've got him, you probably just keep him. But it wouldn't put it past me if he is benched next game, considering he only got 45 minutes. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have to keep watching that one. But 57 points, Matt. I really can't emphasize it enough. It's a really, really good score. You obviously, as you can see on the screen there, 53 points for me. You did manage to beat me, which is a really poor showing for me. But yeah, there wasn't really too much to shout about for me until the England game, other than Shaqiri. Spoke about him on the last podcast, and I just had a feeling, it was a big game. I described him a bit like Gareth Bale. He always manages to pop up with big goals, especially for Switzerland. He just always delivers for them, and he ended up doing that, so I was really happy with that. He got me 7 points. Obviously he will be out of the door now because the Swiss obviously aren't in, which we will mention to Chris when he hops on a little bit later and ask him how he's feeling about the Swiss being eliminated. But similarly to you, Jack, the Lukaku captain didn't want to twist and go with Harry Kane. Thought I might as well just stick just in case. And in hindsight, probably wasn't the right decision. But I'll take the 12 points from him, and then Sterling and Walker with the 6 points each. Grealish unfortunately didn't get any minutes. I was just begging Southgate to sub him on and just finish off that Ukraine defence. I really feel like he could have been just one to get us 1 or 2 more goals in that game. I was just begging him, but it was a little bit precaution from him, I think, and he just made a couple of safe substitutions and didn't use him, which was a little bit weird in my opinion, because I don't think he'll be starting the next game. So it was a little bit of a weird one, but a little bit disappointed with that. But at the end of the day, if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the raffle. In this sense, I haven't won the raffle at all. So that was a little bit unlucky. And then Marla as well was the only one that really got me any points, and there wasn't really too much to shout about from my point of view. But
this was a wild card team as well, El. Yeah,
it was, mate. It was a wild card team, which is shocking.
Yeah, I think you've been unlucky there, Elliot, with Grealish though. Like we all would have thought after that Germany game, he's going to start this game, or at least that last half an hour when the game was done, bring him on. So it is a strange one. So it does make you think, is he going to play in the semi-final? Is that what they're doing? They're keeping him for Wembley in front of the home crowd. So
it's a bit like the Foden shout, right? Obviously, I know what you were saying about his yellow card and stuff being wiped after this round, but it's a bit of a strange one. He's rested for 2 games, not made an appearance now, and Saka's come in. Sancho came in and looked great this morning. I think that news got leaked quite early on, so I was surprised you didn't actually change that last minute, Elliot.
Yeah, that's true, mate. I did read on the Telegraph, I think it was, that he was there, so I didn't end up changing it. I just backed Grealish. Don't know what it was. I really, really thought,
Yeah.
He always just comes on when everyone's legs are tired and manages to pull something special out. But yeah, got a little bit unlucky with that one. But it's points, and I've calculated it, and we'll get onto transfers in a little bit. But I've got to make 5 transfers, and everyone else is going to be playing, so I'm happy with the position I'm in. And yeah, we'll just end up moving on from there. But that wraps up the review section of the podcast. If we move on now to the business of the podcast, into the semi-finals of Euro 2020, and if we can bring up my share screen as we do so, there is 2 games, Italy v Spain and then England v Denmark, 2 absolutely massive fixtures on either side of the draw. But similarly to the last podcast, where we sort of chose 1 or 2 assets from each team that we think you should really be having in your team to, maximise your ability to shoot up your mini leagues. We'll probably go with 3. We'll name 1 each from each game now, obviously, because there's only 2 games now as opposed to the 4 in the quarterfinals. But if we start with Italy, Spain, Jack, yeah, obviously the choice is yours to choose between Italy and Spain. But who are you sort of looking at?
Yeah, it's a man that I've actually we've put on the thumbnail for this evening's pod. It's Verratti. I think he's created in his last couple of games, created more chances than anybody in the Euros across those kind of 3 appearances. He got an assist this morning. Yesterday morning. I don't know what day it is. He got an assist in there for Barella. He's obviously, I think he's pretty cheap value as well. So he's definitely a player I'm going to be looking to bring into my team to put the to change out these Belgian players. So Verratti looked good. He's someone who can definitely cause damage to Spain. He's clever. I think he's boosted that team as well, because he's like some fresh legs coming in after the first couple of rounds, probably just what they need. So definitely a player to watch for me.
Yeah, absolutely, and probably a fairly decent differential pick as well. If he does manage to fire, he'll be absolutely massive. So yeah, I think you're obviously backing the Italians there in that game, Jack. Do you think?
Oh, listen, it could go. Listen, we know it can go either way, obviously, but it's yeah, I think Spain, obviously, ball retention wise, are going to be going to have 800 passes in this game. But I think the Italians are going to do the magic and maybe just grab a goal, sneak a goal in there. I think the guru was saying this morning, Spain had so many, leaking 3 goals in the previous round. It was 5-3. It finished, in it. It was just a bit of a surprise considering how much of the ball they have. But I think they can leak goals, but I think it'd be a bit tighter. So yeah, Italy to edge it, I reckon.
Yeah, it's a fair shout, mate. And then Matt, if you had to pick, 1 player from either side, who are you sort of looking at?
Oh yeah, I think Jack's taken Verratti, who we spoke about this morning. He obviously looks brilliant, but taking him aside, I'll go with I'm going to match what I said last round. I think with Insigne. He obviously grabbed that stunning goal.
What a strike!
Yes, that was unbelievable. So I'll stick with him for Italy, and then Spain. I'll go with Jordi Alba, the fullback. He was actually unlucky not to pick up the assist. I did not understand that one.
Does he not get the assist for that?
Apparently, he hasn't got the assist. That's what I'd seen on Twitter.
Wow.
I'll have to check again, but I'm hearing he didn't even get. May have not got the assist. I'm not too sure. Might have to get a VAR review on that one and a bit of a checkup. I'm hearing he didn't get anything, but yeah, for me, I think for Spain, he's been crucial in this tournament. He's got forward, he's got assists already. He's been involved in a few goals. So I think from Spain, he's probably the one that I'd say he's one of the main ones to have.
Yeah, absolutely, and absolutely cannot believe that he's
not
been
got
given
the assist according to Chris Reed. Yeah, on fantasy. So maybe it was the argument.
I think Chris has got him in his team, so that's probably why he knows.
Maybe the argument was why they didn't give him the goal then, because it looked like it was already going on target. So
yeah, he got the assist. Yeah.
Well, that's good then. He definitely deserved a minimum of the assist for that strike, and obviously helped his team progress through to the semi-finals as well. But if I'm having to pick a player from this game, I think I'm going to go with, I think his name's Di Lorenzo. I think he was in your team for this week, Matt. I think Spinazzola's out now, so he's sort of played a mixture of minutes. He's been subbed and subbed on, subbed off, and that sort of thing. And I think he probably might end up getting the start in this game now, so it'll be quite interesting.
Maybe over Emerson, do you think? I think Emerson came on for him, didn't he? But do you think he's going to be more favoured over him?
Yeah. Well, Emerson's usually a right-sided player, isn't he? So it'll be interesting. Yeah. So you never really know what's going to happen, but he seems to be getting, a handful of minutes, so he's probably due a start, you'd like to think. And maybe if it ends up paying off, then it will be an absolute masterclass. But we obviously don't know. Italy's one of the ones where I think you said it on the last podcast, Matt, where you can find out their leaked lineup a fair amount before. So obviously you've got a fair idea, don't you?
Yeah, I think you go on to Twitter, and I think it's football.italia or football calcio. It's one of those. You can literally put Italy line up in Twitter, go on to top post, and you normally see it in the first sort of 5 or 6 posts. There's a website that has been getting it pretty much spot on. But I guess as well, the thing about this deadline compared to FPL is you can actually check all the way. You can do it right up until kickoff anyway. So set your alarm 5 minutes before kickoff and make the change. Yeah,
absolutely. It's definitely not favoured by a lot of people, but it's definitely bailed a lot of people out that I know as well. The deadline and the subs and the captaincy and stuff like that. But I think we're ready to bring Chris Reed in now, and he can have his little cry about the Swiss being eliminated, sadly, and rant on about how well England are going. So we'll bring him in now and just ask him if he loads in. There we are. How are we doing, Chris?
Yeah, not too bad, Elliot. Made up. Obviously, England are still going. Swiss are out, as you say. No need to be like that. Be like that to me first thing this morning. But I'll take it on the chin. I'm just happy. Obviously, England have got through. So yeah, I'm good. Thanks, mate.
Chris is our live UK correspondent, mate. What's the feeling like in England right now?
Still people partying on the streets now, mate. They've not gone to bed. It's going off yet. No, I'm only messing. I reckon there'll be a few sore heads today. I'm sure of it. So I myself didn't have I stayed away from that sort of scene and kept it calm, quiet, and just enjoyed the game. It was just an absolutely cracking game to watch, really. So yeah, buzzing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will bring your team up now because I mentioned it before. You've had an absolutely brilliant week as well. You managed to get yourself 64 points, if I'm not mistaken. There we go on the screen. It says so. Just take us through your team for this week, mate.
Yeah, not a bad score. I think I'm in the mix there with a lot of the fantasy managers, to be honest, who obviously had to pick similar players, if you like. And I went with the Spain assets at the back. A couple of those didn't get the clean sheet, obviously, which I was a bit disappointed about. But as as you discussed there, Jordi Alba managed to get an assist, which should have been a goal, in my opinion. It was on target, but hey ho. And let's just talk about Luke Shaw, as a Liverpool fan and him being a United player, where we don't normally like to see them do very well, especially in the Premier League. But, this guy, fair play to him, absolutely cracking game he had. A couple of assists in there, the clean sheet. One of the best players on the night, to be honest with you. Then, you got Myler for Denmark as well, popping in with another assist. He just keeps going, that guy. And Pickford got the clean sheet. He turns up for England. He's a different keeper, completely different than he is for Everton. And he just pulls it off for England. My midfield four, bit disappointed if I'm honest. Didn't really get as many points as what I'd hoped to get. Fernan Torres didn't hit. Damsgaard as well, although he did have a chance in the game yesterday. Sterling got an assist, so I was happy with that. But Grealish, I just took a gamble, didn't I? Took the risk and thought I'll put someone different in there. Maybe he'll get the start. Gareth just went, no, mate. Listen, Mount's back in. Sancho's in there. So it didn't happen for that one. But you move up top, and I'm sure that man there, sat with the Spurs jacket on, was quite happy about that man hitting his 2 goals, and I put him on. Put the captaincy on him as well. So he got those 20 points for me, and Dolberg just chipped in with a nice little goal as well. He's been a bit of a sort of hidden gem, if you like. Not many people have selected him or have thought he'd do too well, but he's been great, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant score. As you can see, it's sort of points all round, around the board. We we both fell into the same trap with Grealish, Reedy. I was speaking before about it. I was begging Gareth to bring him on with all the tired Ukraine legs, but he just didn't fancy it, unfortunately. But as you can see, Harry Kane, captain, absolutely brilliant. You would have been absolutely delighted with Jordan Henderson's goal as well, wouldn't you?
Oh, it was fantastic for him to just come on, and obviously he got that goal. in the one of the other games. I don't know if it was before the tournament or maybe even in the group stage. It got ruled out for the VAR for offside, so he got that one chalked off. But this one definitely stood, and it was just fantastic for him to get on the score sheet, really. And he's, as you can see, probably social media wise, he's absolutely made up with it. So yeah.
Yeah, he's absolutely thrilled with that one, and as he should be. I think it was something like 64 or something games in an England shirt, and he's finally got his first goal. But just keep looking at your team there as well, and everyone in your starting lineup there, if I'm not mistaken, has managed to progress to the semi-finals as well. And then you look at your bench, and everyone there has managed to progress to the semi-finals as well. So what are you going to sort of be doing transfers-wise, do you think?
Oh, it's a tricky one. I had a little tinker with it yesterday, just because you're thinking, if you're an England fan especially and you're playing Denmark, you're thinking, well, do I have Denmark players in there? Because I don't want them to actually hit. But, you're kind of thinking, well, what else can I do? So you either basically go all in England, all in Italy or Spain potentially, maybe throw a couple in there that are different, from the other teams, just in case. It's a really tricky one, this semi-final. And as you alluded to before, Elliot, you can make changes right up until kick-off, make your subs and, your captain picks, things like that. So, yeah, I really don't know what to do yet. It's a bit of a headache, this one.
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of days to try and sort that one out. But yeah, obviously, I don't think anyone on the podcast has got any more of their chips. So it's just pure transfers now. And as much as I love a rollover in FPL, I don't think you can afford to ever roll over in Euro fantasy. But yeah, as we said, Reedy, massive score from you and a really brilliant week. But we forgot to chat about your transfers before as well, Jack. So just looking at your team there, there's a couple of players that will be unfortunately having to be removed for a different nation, especially the Belgian players. You went quite heavy on there with the three of them, and yeah. So what are you sort of planning to do as well?
Yeah, I've had a little double as well. Playing around, I haven't confirmed it yet. I just need to just double check with obviously injuries and stuff like that. So I'll probably leave it for a couple more days. But yeah, those Belgian players have got to come out. Obviously, I think the obvious ones that kind of come to mind with the strikers, Schick and Lukaku have got to come out. So, is it Morata and Immobile? And then obviously in the midfield, taking out Hazard. I like the Verratti shout, but Insigne is obviously another one. So the Italian assets are still attractive in there because obviously I do fancy them. But then obviously at the back line, a Bonucci possibly, or Di Lorenzo, who you've already mentioned, or another England asset to come in as well. So a couple of decisions to be made. Still keep a slight spread over, but obviously not in a good position in the league, but obviously not in a good luxurious position like our mate Reedy is over here with where he only has to upgrade his players in his transfers, whereas we're replacing. So just got to be careful in there and see what that looks like and see who's going. I don't know.
Is it 5 you've got in total that
yeah,
around? Obviously, Spinazzola's injured. He's not technically out of the tournament, but it's pretty much over for him. So
yeah, so 3 Belgian players, Spinazzola, so it's 4 and Schick as well. So yeah, 5 in, 5 out. So it's quite easy in that respect, I guess. So but from your one, I guess you can carry over one transfer for yourself into the final if when you get there, Reedy. If you don't make all your transfers, that is, you can carry. I think one carries over, if I'm correct.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, that's it. A gift from us, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt as well, I was looking at your team. Obviously we looked at it a little bit before, and you sort of just, other than the odd Swedish and Ukraine asset and obviously the Netherlands assets, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you've got 5 transfers to make and 5 players that need to be removed as well. So somehow, I don't know how you've done this, mate. I keep looking at it and thinking, I don't know how he's done this. He's found a way to do it. So you've obviously got your 5 transfers as well. So what's your sort of plans?
Yeah, look, I can pretty much go 5 transfers in for the 5 guys that were already out in the quarterfinals. So that's pretty much what I'm going to try and do. Yeah, look, it's a tough one, like we've all said. Do we, kind of split it between all of the teams, or do I just pick 2 teams out of the 4 that I back and just go? I think are going to make the final and go for that. It's a tough one. I was saying a few strategies with Jack earlier as well. you could get in a couple of Denmark players because, if they do score or they do pull off, the result we don't think is going to happen, then there'll be huge differentials. So, I might have to think about someone like a Dolberg, who Reedy mentioned before. He's just been brilliant in this tournament. So I might have a look at maybe a Dolberg in place of Depay, and just have him on my bench. And then, I need to get rid of one of the Spinazzola, so he needs to go. So again, might be another.
So it's 6 transfers, isn't it, that you've got to make? Then
6. Actually, I might bench him. And then maybe go for. Yeah, it's a tough one, actually. It depends on what formation I want to play. I'm definitely going to be probably putting in another England player, another Italian, and maybe a Dolberg for Depay. And then I might pick a Spanish player as well, but I'm undecided. I'm really liking Jordi Alba just for his goal threat. So probably where I'm at, I'm going to look at England, Italy, 1 Spain, and then
Spain and Denmark.
I'll have a big think about if I want Dolberg in or not.
The 4 teams left. Interesting shout.
I think I'll back England mainly and Italy in terms of the two teams out of the 4. But I might try and spring a surprise with the Denmark player or 2 just for something different because I need those differentials. I need those points.
So how many players is it? How many players is it? Sorry to cut you off there, El. How many players can you have from one team now? I don't know if one of you know that off the bat.
6 goes up to 6, doesn't it? Yeah.
Okay, so people are going to be loading up on England, that's for sure.
Gotta hope they win.
I think there's going to be a lot of England and Italy players in a lot of people's teams now. But I was actually meaning to ask you that a little bit before, Matt. Do you think the strategy is to just load up heavy on one team or 2 teams in this round, obviously, and then just pray that they get you through to the final as well, and then you're sitting in a pretty good position as well? But what do you sort of think the play is?
Yeah, look, that's the $1 million question, Elliot. Going gung-ho, I did that in the quarterfinals with Italy and I got absolutely burnt when they let that goal in at the end. So I'd say based on that, I'd probably try and just spread it a little bit, knowing that, in the final there is, 8 transfers?
I believe so, mate. 8
transfers. So you've probably got a good opportunity to actually spread it around between the four teams and just hope that there's, if you've got midfielders and attackers and attacking fullbacks, hope it's a bit of a goal fest and it goes to extra time in both games. And you might be able to get, similar to that France-Switzerland game and the Croatia-Spain game where there was just points flying in from everywhere. So, you could share it around between all 4 teams and then, you've got 8 transfers for the final anyway. So I'd probably say
I think it's 5 for the final, Guru.
Oh, is it 5 still?
Is it 8 you can have from one nation? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
right, okay.
I'd probably say spread it if you can, but, you still want to try and back at least one side you think is going to make the final. So then, you've got 5 or 6 players already in the final and then you've got 5 transfers in because you're only going to really need a starting 11 in the final anyway.
Well, the subs are absolutely irrelevant in the final, aren't they? Unless they're going to be auto subs or anything. So that's definitely some good insight and definitely something that I've wanted to ask and think about as well. So I'm sure all the viewers really appreciate that. But that wraps up the preview.
What about you, Elliot?
What about me?
Yeah.
Ask me, mate.
No, it's all go on, mate.
Oh, mate, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Get your team up. Let's have a quick look. Quick squiz.
Was so apprehensive to do that, mate. I was.
More advice, the better. Come on, insights, opinions. Come on.
It's not in a bad position. Don't get me wrong. I've got 5 players to get rid of, 5 transfers to make, but it's just who I'm getting in is the absolute issue there. As Matt was just talking about, there's a decent spread. There's like 4 or so English players. I think I'll obviously get Pickford in as my goalkeeper. That's probably going to be what I do. I think that's probably the safe option to have Donnarumma and Pickford because, if one of them doesn't make the final, then something's gone terribly wrong in the Euros, and that would be pretty unlucky. But with the Belgium assets, Meunier and Lukaku, I'm not too sure. I'm thinking, as you mentioned with Dolberg, is it Dolberg? Is it Morata? Is it you never really know. I don't know. I've got a feeling about Spain for some reason. and I don't know if it's just because I really just don't want Denmark to do anything, but I've got a feeling about Spain. I think they're going to take them right down to the wire. So I'm not too sure. And then I think the Insigne shout that Matt had before is going to be my my Shaqiri replacement, but I'm just really not sure, mate. And it's going to be a really difficult decision heading into the semi-finals. But yeah, as Matt says, try and keep a fair spread, and I think I've got that there. So maybe one or two more Spanish assets, and I should probably be all right to go. But yeah, that's going to be my team. Jack, what do you sort of think of it?
Yeah, I think obviously you played the wild card same round as me. You've got quite a similar, asset wise. You probably end up obviously with a similar one, I guess. So I think it's it's fingers crossed, hit and hope in it, and see who fires. I think obviously any differentials are ones. Obviously I saw Maguire score this morning, but maybe Stones could have a shout in there. I know a couple of people have got them in his team, in their teams. But yeah, not too bad, mate. I've just thought there's not a third and fourth playoff in Euros, is there? It's only in the World Cup, right?
Don't think so.
Yeah,
Is there?
no, I don't think there is.
I was going to say it could have been a good chance for more points, but yeah, I don't think there is.
Yeah, that'd be quite interesting. No, I don't think there is. I haven't seen it on the fixtures or anything, so pretty certain that there's not. That would be a fantasy manager's dream, that wouldn't it? Now you're in the end game and you've got it all there. But we've got a comment from Stu MC who says Danes can easily beat England, Romania 2000, Costa Rica 2014, Iceland 2016. They're clear of any of them. Yeah, but you're forgetting one thing, Stu MC, is that we've got Harry Kane who's firing, we've got Jack Grealish, we've got Sterling who's firing. The stars are aligning, and it's coming home, boys, isn't it? Wembley as well.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even think of that. Yeah, our biggest win in the tournament's been away, hasn't it, in Rome? So if that doesn't say anything, then yeah, I think you're in denial, mate. And fingers crossed, the English can manage to pull it over the line for us.
Yeah. No matter how hard the Ukrainian, I was going to say, no matter how hard the Ukrainian fans bang that drum, it just wasn't working, was it?
I think Stu's gone heavy on Denmark assets. That's probably why he's chirping up there.
He'll shoot to top of the league if Denmark get the win. He'll be top of the league because he'll have all 6 Danes in, and then he'll be on the pod as our guest, I think.
Yeah, he'd be laughing he'd be laughing at Stuart.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah. Well, get your Danish assets in. I'll be sitting here with 1 or 2, and I think a lot of people will as well, just in case. But just a reminder that it is coming home. It's going to be safe. So it should be absolutely fine. And that wraps up the preview section of the podcast. So if we move on now to the guru section by the one and only Matt Day, or at FPL_addicts on Instagram and Twitter, who is also on our Discord. So remember, if you haven't entered the Discord on www.e-sportslive.com.au/FPL_addicts, the link is there for direct access to the guru and his advice. But over to you, Matt. You've got your ones to watch for the semi-finals, your captain picks and your curveball captains. So take it away, mate.
Yeah, look, thanks, Elliot. And again, it's going to be quite brief tonight. There's not too many games and players to pick from. So in terms of differentials, I'm just going to pick one from each team. A couple we've already mentioned. So the first one's going to be from Italy, and it's going to be Verratti. Me and Jack have spoke about him on this pod already. He's really good on the ball. Looks like he's getting in the goal scoring positions, but he's also making a lot of final balls and setting chances up. So I think he's a really good shout, and he's a good price, and he's a midfielder. So you've got a chance of a clean sheet point. And then with Spain, I'm going to say Jordi Alba. Gets up and down that left flank, big attacking threat. So really liking him. And then for Denmark, I'm gonna have to pick a Dane, of course. So I'm gonna go with Damsgaard. So he's been a favourite of mine in this tournament. I've put him in the Discord chat before, and he's come out with a goal. He's come out with an assist in this tournament. So he's definitely got to be in there for the Danes. And then for England, this guy was a hot topic this morning when we were out watching the game, and it's going to be Jadon Sancho, the new Man United signing. I think he's a really, really big differential, obviously, if he gets the start. But I thought he was brilliant this morning, really good on the ball. When he got a chance to run at the fullback, he was taking him on, and I was really impressed. So hopefully he builds some momentum in the next game and can get a few more balls in the box and get some shots on goal. So that's my differentials.
Yeah, and just from an England perspective, are you sort of hoping that Jadon Sancho starts the next game, Matt?
I'd like to see him start. I'm a big fan of Grealish, but I did like what I saw of Sancho. So I think as well, because I've got him as a differential pick, I'd like to see him start. So then if people put him in, they can be happy for the tip.
Yeah, and you definitely would have helped a lot of people out there if he does end up doing anything. So I'm sure they'll thank you for that. But bring us over to your captain picks now, and I'm definitely going to be listening to this one with open ears, because it's going to be a difficult one for me. I think going into the final couple of games, you don't really want to go with the main captain that everyone's going to be going with, the regulars. So you've got to maybe spice it up a little bit and go with a differential maybe. So I take it away, mate.
Yeah, look, these are actually probably a bit more of your obvious ones, but I'm just going to do one from each team that I think's probably their best shout. So with Spain, I know he didn't have the best game last time out, but I'll probably go with Ferran Torres. He gets in that starting lineup. I think he's safer than someone like Sarabia. So I'd probably say for Spain, Ferran Torres is a good shout. If he does grab a goal, you get more points because he's a midfielder. For the Italians, I'm going to back Insigne again. Put that ball in the top corner. It was phenomenal. And he's just been brilliant this whole tournament. I think he's a much bigger goal threat than even Immobile from Italy. I think Insigne seems to be the one that's just getting in all the shooting positions. So I think he's the best captain from them. For England, has obviously Harry Kane. He's got his 2 goals today. His goal against Germany, and I think he'll score again against Denmark. So I think he's the best pick for a captain from England. And then from Denmark, I'll go with Dolberg. 3 goals and 2. He's getting in goal scoring positions. So if you do fancy Denmark, which a few people in the community, as we can see, do fancy Denmark. So if you back Denmark, I think back Dolberg.
Yeah, we don't want to be seeing any Denmark captains. All we want to see is the armband slapped on your man Harry Kane, mate. But take it away with your curveball captain as well, then.
Sancho for me, if he starts. So if we get the intel that he's going to get the start again, I think he should start. He played well. I just think it'd be a bit of a shame if he didn't get back-to-back starts. So if we get the intel that he's going to start, I think differential captain for sure, because some people are probably a bit skeptical about putting him in because he's only played the 1 game and he didn't get a goal and an assist. But I think he's looks a quality player, and I think he's a big curveball captain.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with you there, mate. I think, he didn't really do much to warrant him not starting the next game. He didn't really do much wrong, did he? And Southgate doesn't really look like he fancies Foden too much at the minute. So I think, Sancho's a really good option there. Obviously, he did tear it up this season and last season in the Bundesliga. So, if we can see anything similar to that with him linking up with Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So, thank you, Matt. And that wraps up another awesome Guru section. So before we wrap up the podcast today, I just want to ask you all a couple of questions. First of all, Jack, are you how confident are you feeling, heading into the second final match day that, you're going to stay towards the top of the league and, end up bringing the money home? He's on mute.
I'll just say how much I'm going to I'm winning and take it out now. Obviously going into this now, it's the business end in it. If I can hold my nerve going into this next one and pick the right choices, find maybe a differential in there possibly to make it happen in this semi-final, be great. And obviously with England, I'm probably going to load up on England if I'm honest. Probably going to try and get all 6 assets in there and bring it home, and hopefully I can do the double. If England take it out and I can take it out, even better. But obviously, I'm all for everyone. I'll be happy to see whoever does it because they're all part of our community, and obviously, we want to keep everyone in there. So whatever keeps everyone happy, but probably better if I win it.
Yeah. fingers crossed for your England assets there. It's a double bubble. If England end up winning and all your FPL, your Euro fantasy assets fire, then it's a double win, isn't it? So that'd be brilliant. And Matt, are you sort of confident that you're going to be able to gain a little bit of ground this round? This was sort of the steadying round, and it was a lot more than a steady for you. You got a really good point score there. So are you confident this week? You're going to maybe better your score again?
Yeah, I think I'm confident I'll get a better score because I should have a full 11. I'm not going to take any hits, so if I get the captain right, I think I'll get a better score. But in terms of gaining ground on the top three, I think gaining ground on top's a bit of a long shot, maybe third. There's an opportunity there still. It's just going to be about what can I find? What can I find from the remaining players that's different to everyone else? And I've got a couple on my mind, so I've got to pull something out. I've got to pull a rabbit out of the hat. I think that no one's going to have a player that no one's thought of. So
didn't fancy sharing them on the Guru section, did you?
Probably should share it.
They'll probably be on the Discord.
Oh, if that's not
the exclusive Discord channel.
Yeah,
if that's not an incentive to join the Discord, then I don't really know what is. Direct access to the Guru, you've got to get joining it, don't you? And Reedy, obviously, you obviously got manager of the match day for match day 3, I think it was. So you're sitting in a pretty good position, as we mentioned before. You don't have to make any transfers. You obviously probably will, but are you confident? This week maybe you could charge for another one.
It's either I do really well or I have a shocker. You know what I mean? When you're in such a good position like that, sometimes it can be too much of a headache. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I'm happy to be in this position. Much happier than some. No. Much happier than some of the other fancy managers. Some of our Dutch friends on Discord and whatnot. Of course. But yeah, I've just got to really just start to get me thinking cap on, and like the Guru's saying there, you've got to kind of try and pick a couple of players which maybe some other people won't go for. It is really tough though. I'm just gonna, like I say, I think I'm gonna leave it for a day because I think jumping straight in, you're gonna be making changes left, right, and centre, and then you get to the day, you actually change it again. I'm gonna have a day off, recover. You know what I mean? Back in there tomorrow, have a look and see what I can do. But if I can just get in the top 10, I think I'd be happy with that because I am 11th at the minute. So I mean, top 5 might be a bit of a big ask at this point. We'll see.
Yeah, well, there's Reedy's advice. Take a day off. Enjoy the sunshine. If you're in England, it's not really been the best weather down here in Melbourne. But take a day off and then come back to it. I think that's pretty good advice from you there as well, mate. And the final question of the podcast is actually going to go back to you, Matt, as the prestigious Guru yourself. There's a lot of people there with their teams that maybe doubled up too heavily on a certain amount of teams, and maybe Belgium, for example, and they've got a couple of transfers that they've got to make, and maybe if they've got to take a couple of hits. What's your sort of advice about that?
Yeah, hits. I'd say, look, if you can get an 11 on the park with the 5 transfers, and you don't take a hit because you don't really need a bench. I don't think. It worked for me in the last round. In saying that, I took 1 hit, but I think if you can get an 11 on the park, don't worry about your bench. Don't take hits, but if you need to get an 11 on the park, then maybe 1 hit at most, a 4, but I wouldn't be taking anything more than a 4. Don't take an 8 point, don't take a 12 point. It's just you're just not going to be able to make that ground up with 3 games to go in the tournament. So look, if you need to get an 11 on, then maybe take 1. But if it's just to fill up the squad with 15 players, then I wouldn't even bother, as long as you've got 11 on the pitch and you can get your captain and your 5 transfers right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for that advice, Matt. And obviously, best of luck to all of you as we head into the semi-finals, and may all your Euro fantasy dreams come true for the semi-finals. And we'll see you on the next podcast when we'll be one step closer to football coming home. But take care, stay safe, and goodbye for now.